How's it going, everybody? This is Darrin with GuitarControl.com bringing you this video lesson, and today I want to show you how to play Tesla's rendition of Signs by Five Man Electric Band. So right now Guitar Control is giving away this really cool free chord chart. There's a link down in the description where you can get yours. It has every chord you could ever need all neatly compiled onto one sheet, and it's in PDF format, so you can download it, you can print it off, you can put a copy in your gig bag, put a copy where you practice. So just whatever situation you're in, you can have any chord you need at a glance, and it's a free download. So be sure to click the link in the description for the tabs, and let's get close up and take a look at this. Alright, so we're going to be, just for the most part, just playing a bunch of just like basic chords that you probably already know, hopefully you already know. Alright, so we start with this D right on the downbeat of 1, and it's a quarter note. And then on the downbeat of 2, we strum it again. It's an 8th note, and then on the and of 2, it's 2 16th notes. So we've got a total of 4 strums there. Long, short, shorter. So da, 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 da. And then we're gonna go to the D suspended 4, and we just hit that right on the downbeat of 3, but then we immediately switch back to regular D for the remainder of the measure. Then right on the downbeat of 1 of the second measure, we go back to the D suspended 4, back to the D. So it's kind of a pattern that just repeats. And then the very last one there, on the right at the end of the second measure, we've got just the A and the D string open, and then to the 2nd fret of the A string, but the D string is still open. And these are like kind of pickup notes into the beginning of the verse. And then we just drop into a regular C major chord. So. All right, so now we're on the verse. So this is, the sign says, so the vocals start right there. So we start with C, and it's just a regular open position C major chord. So I'm on the 3rd fret of the A string, 2nd fret of the D string, G string is open, 1st fret of the B string, high E string is open. And we're gonna play this starting on the downbeat of 1 with C. So what I'm doing is I'm just hitting the A, the D, and then the G and the B together. It's like 1 and 2. Then we're going to go to a G over B. So this is really simple. All you have to do is take your middle finger and move it from the 2nd fret of the D string to the 2nd fret of the A string, and take your other 2 fingers off. So now you're going to be playing the same thing 3 and 4. Then we've got a D over A. So if you just go back to the original D major chord, but now you're just going to start off by hitting the open A and then the open D. 1 and 2. Then to a G major chord, 3 and 4. So with that part, it shows on the transcription you hit the E string, and then the A, D, and G string, and then the G, B, and high E. So when you're practicing that, don't put too much stress into like making sure that when you get to this top part that you don't hit the D string. It's just not a big deal. All the notes are in the key; they're part of the chord. So over time, you'll refine it, but at first don't put too much worry on that. All right, so far on the verse, then we've got. Now we're going to switch to a D again. So this is like 1, 2, E, and. Same thing like we did at on the intro. It's a quarter note, then an 8th note, then 2 16th notes. So 1, 2, E, and. then to an A major. So when I do this, I'm just using my first finger to bar because you don't need to worry about hitting the high E string. So I've got the A string open, and then I'm just barring the second fret of the D, G, and B string. And we hit that 3 E and 4 E and so. And then to a G, same thing. 1, 2 E and or 1, 1 E and 2 E and then back to an A major, and it's the same as the timing at the second half of that previous measure with the A. So it's 2 16th notes, then an 8th, then 4 16th notes. So 3 E and 4 E and Now, as far as that strum and rhythm in there, you can really kind of make it your own. You just kind of want to feel it. I probably don't play it consistently exactly the same way every time. Just in the demonstrations, there's probably been slight variances. You just kind of want to feel it. You always get a better performance if you kind of feel it than if you're really trying to count it. Unless it's some kind of a really syncopated rhythm that you need to be doing, especially on an acoustic song. It just isn't necessary to put that much stress. Make this easy, especially if you're a beginner. This just make it a lot easier. Okay, then we go to a B minor. So just barring the second fret with my first finger through the A string. We don't use to play the low E. And then I'm on the third fret of the B string with my second finger, fourth fret of the D string with my third finger, fourth fret of the G string with my fourth finger. Now, when you play this, you can get all of it, or you could omit the high E string. So if you're having problems with doing bar chords, you just get this shape here, and then all you have to do is pick up the note on the A string, and you'll probably already be muting the high E string anyway, just simply because of your finger, laying down. So here we're starting with B minor. We've got that similar kind of a rhythm thing going. Here we've got 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So we've got on beat number 2, the last 16th note is tied to the first 16th note of beat 3, so it's like treated like an 8th note. So if you thought of this as like 3 long, 1 short, 1 long, 1 short, 1 long, 4 short, as far as how they ring out. So. But if you just the melody of the song, like that. We've talked, lots of other videos about countertop drumming to get that. Sorry for this B minor then. Okay, then we go to a G. So just regular old G major. And whether you play it with the D note here on the third fret of the B string, or you play it with the B string open. I personally like the way it sounds more with this D in there, and I think that's the way they're playing it, and Tesla's playing it in their version. So that's the way I've got it in here. But if you don't play G that way, it's just not that big of a deal. For this with G here, we got the same timing that we just had on the B minor. So. Then we're going to go back to a D, and it's back to the similar timing that we had earlier in the verse. So this is actually exactly the same as measure 5, I believe. Yeah, measure 5. So it's back to the D. So long, 1, 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Back to a G. So the G, 1, 1, E and 2 E and then to an A, and on here it's just 1 or 3 E and 4 E and. But again, you can, feel free to kind of like spice up that rhythm, especially if you're playing this completely by yourself. If you're like in there, they're playing it as a whole group. But if you're playing it by yourself, you have a lot of freedom, and you can really change up that rhythm and make it just sound more interesting and more fun for you to play as well. Alright, then that brings us to the chorus. And for the chorus, it's going to be using the same G, D, and A and C that we've been using, except that we have one more chord. We have a C add 9. So C add 9, a couple of different ways that you could play it. I'll show you the way that I like to do it for this particular thing. I just personally think it makes it easier. So we're going to go from a D to the C add 9. So if you just take your first finger and you move it down a string, so it goes from the second fret of the G string to the second fret of the D string, and then your middle finger moves down so it's on the third fret of the A string, your ring finger stays where it is. So there's a couple different ways you can play it, also like this with that G in there. This is just the way they're doing it. So you could also do it just by taking the regular C shape and putting your pinky down like this. The reason I do it the way that I do it is because after the C add 9 we're going to go to a G, so it just makes the transition really simple. So we're going to go from this D to C add 9 to G. So you got the... Okay, so that's the chorus. So it starts off, we got the D, so we're hitting this is a quarter note, and then an eighth note to a 16th note. So the thing that's different between this and what we've been doing is we've got the 1, 2, E, and. So that second 16th note of beat 2 is actually when we make the change to C add 9. So it's coming in kind of in a weird place, especially if you're doing it from trying to count it. But if you just kind of feel it, it makes it a lot easier. So when we hit that, it is on the last 16th note of beat 2, but it's tied to the first 16th note of beat 3. So you got... So we hit that C add 9, then we hit it 3 more 16th notes. And then we're going to go to a G, and that's on the downbeat of 4. So it's 4 E and. So okay, then starting on the second measure, we're back to D, 1 E and. So we start with 2 16th notes and then an 8th note. 1 E and, 2 E, and then on the last 16th note of beat 2, we switch to a G. So we hitch that to the G on the last 16th note of beat 2, and then we've just got 4 8th notes. So 3 and 4 and. So. So you can kind of, signs, everywhere for signs. Then we're going to go back to a D, 1 and 2 E and, to an A, same A we did earlier, 3 E and 4 E. Now to a regular C chord, so the C add 9. So basically the difference between those two chords is here we're getting this C, here we're getting a D. So all of these chord changes, sometimes these different voicings, is just to make it so it carries a a chordal, melody, like a high melody within the chord, or a low melody, just depending upon what it is. So when we get to that C, we have a whole measure of this. It's 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So again, much easier if you just kind of feel it out. And then that shows there it's the end of a repeat. So you play the intro, the verse, the chorus, then you go back and play the intro again, play the second verse, play the second chorus, and then at the end of the second chorus it has this little transition I'll show you here that leads us into the bridge. So we're at the end of it, with D, and this is kind of like the intro, and then we've got this little build-up thing. So what that is, it's kind of weird, especially when you're just playing this by yourself, to really make it sound really cool, at least for me. I find it, maybe half the time I do it, it sounds cool. The rest of the time I'm kind of eh. So we've got the eighth notes, beat number 1, 1 and beat 2 is an eighth note, 2 16th notes. So 1 and 2 E and then on the downbeat of 3, first 16th note is the strum of that. And then we have an eighth note, just this single note, this single G, 3rd fret of the low E string. And we're going to hit that twice. It's eighth note, then a 16th note, and then we rest a 16th note. So we've got and then the next 16th note is the 4th fret. So then we rest a 16th note and go to an A. So that's like... okay, it sounds really cool when they do it, but it's just by yourself. It's a little it's not as full sounding, in my opinion. Okay, so the very last thing we're hitting is that strumming an A, and it's the last 16th note of beat 4, and then that brings us into the bridge, which starts on A. So we're already there. We've got 1 E and, so like an eighth note, 2 16th notes, then an eighth, 2 16th, so 1 E and 2 E and. The very last 16th note of beat 2 is tied to the downbeat of beat 3, so it's an eighth note. Again, don't put too much thought into that, just kind of feel it. So we have the A, and we're going to do this through the whole measure, and then the last 16th note we switch to a G. So you got, starting on the downbeat of 2, it's a G, and it's the same timing again. We got 1 and 2 E and then we go to a D major, 3 E and 4 E and. So third measure starts off is still with D 16th notes, 1 E and 2 E and then on the last 16th note of beat 2 we switch to an A, and then we have 2 beats, 8 16th notes for beats 3 and 4 of A. So then back to a G, and that's like, and this is a 2/4 bar, so it's just 2 beats. 1 2 3 4 5. That's one way you could count it like that, just to simplify it. 1 2 3 4 5. Now to a D. So it's just like the intro. Okay, so then you have like the verse. The sign says, "Come in, kneel down, and pray." The church one, and it's like a lot softer. A cappella parts, but it's all just more or less these same parts that we've gone over. All right, there you have it. All the parts to be able to play Signs, Tesla's version of Signs by Five Man Electric Band, I think it was called originally. So if you like this lesson, be sure to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you have any questions about this or other guitar-related topics. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we upload throughout the week. Well, that is all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.